All right, welcome to another edition of Land Rover. I think we'll call this one Barrel of Lies. And why we're going to do that, this is a Land Rover Discovery 2. And the problem we've been having on this one was twofold. Number one, there's a key lock stick, basically. I don't know how else to describe it, but it goes in like this so that when you turn the key in the barrel, this will turn the lock actuator inside. And this had I guess been previously repaired and had broken again. So anyway, we put a new one in, and that solved the problem where you can now use the key to actually unlock and lock it manually. But there was another issue too, and that's what we're going to focus on today, and that is the key barrel. This vehicle tends to think that the key is still in the ignition even when it's not. So you open the door and you hear the chime, and you hear like you had left the key in the ignition. I tried to do some contact cleaner, followed up with some WD-40, followed up with another lubricant, etc. And that just really didn't help the situation. It just keeps dinging. And what I think is happening then, when you go to arm the vehicle and you lock it with the fob, because it senses that the key is in, or at least it thinks that the key is in, then it tends to super lock it, or anyway, the owner was saying that it was going crazy and it just wasn't working. So I'm going to replace the key barrel today. So we got this replacement key barrel, and I'm hoping that this solves the problem. I've watched some other videos that showed that it did. So without any further ado, let's get to it. All right, first thing you can do, and you'll see that I've already done it, it's really quite simple. There's a shroud that goes on. The top part really just basically lifts straight up and out, and the bottom part is held on by three very small screws. There's one, two, and a third one back in here. And once you get those three screws out, you can get access to this. And the next thing you'll do is use a flathead screwdriver and turn this basically 90 degrees and drop this whole panel down. First thing to do then, oh, by the way, I would probably disconnect the battery for this job. Anytime you're working with electrics, plugging and replugging, it's probably a good idea to disconnect the car battery. So do that first. First thing then we're going to do is this plug here, this black wire, leads up to the ignition right there. If you can get that in focus. Yep, right there. There's all those thick, heavy wires lead down through this black wire here. We're basically just going to go up into here. We're going to hold the pinch right here with your finger and just jiggle this out. Boom, there you go. Next thing that we have to do is a little tricky, and that is right up at the top here. At the top of this metal piece right here that's welded to the vehicle, these little, believe it or not, these are bolts. They are supposedly security bolts so that you can't like break into the vehicle and alter the ignition in any way and try to steal it. So these are safety bolts or something. I don't know what you call them, but they're rounded off, and there's really only one way to get them out, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so what you have to do to get these bolts out is actually just I have a flathead screwdriver here, and I'm going to go on the right hand side of this far one here. So let me zoom in and I'll show you kind of where that screwdriver goes. So right there, right on the edge of it, and I've already experimented with it, so I got it to work. Basically, you just get it as, pretty close to the center, but off to the right, and you give it a whack with a hammer, and what it'll do is this will end up kind of breaking this bolt loose to the point where you can probably get to it by your fingers, but I can't hold the camera and do it. But I did actually get it to spin, and it broke loose pretty easily. So just give this a couple of whacks with your hammer, and all of a sudden that'll break loose. Do the same for the other side, and the angle is actually a little better on this side. But these things should break loose pretty easily, and then we're going to be able to remove this key barrel, the old key lock barrel here, pretty quick. Okay, now that the screws are out, this thing basically just fell right down, so that's kind of good. We're going to fish it out towards the driver's side door. That's here in the US. And there's some wires at the top here that will need to be disconnected, that white one, and then there's a solenoid behind that will disconnect as well. A little note, actually I found it way easier to go this way with it. So it came out just by pushing, kind of finagling it through the little maze of wires, but it came out towards the passenger side a little easier. And we'll just kind of pull this big, thick, heavy set of wires through. And now we have access to the solenoid. Now, you'll see this gold kind of colored plate here. This is the solenoid. Getting this out is a little tricky, I'm told. So the easiest thing to do is get a number 1 or number 0 Phillips and just take this plate off right there with those two. This white wire just disconnects with this tab that's right here. Just push that down and it should come right out. I need 2 hands for this, but there we go. One-handed. Look at me go. All right, here's the old unit out. This is the part that leads into the ignition. We're gonna remove this from here, move it to the new one, which looks very similar. As I understand it, this wire is not even being used. This plug doesn't even get used. So we're just going to leave that disconnected, as from what I've seen online. And this is the old one. So like I said, once we remove this, we'll put it into here. The other thing that's you'll notice when you get your new one is it has this little bracket right here held in with 2 little bolts. Those bolts look like this. Just unthread those. You're going to save those bolts. But what you don't need is this. You won't need that because this goes back into the welded piece that is up here, right there and there. That'll hold it in place. Those 2 spots right there.
One more quick point of reference, the tiny little screws that are right there, they're already out. They're on this side and 180 degrees on the other side. They're a little different orientation, so what you're going to need to do on the new one is on those there in the front. So make sure you keep the orientation of the wires exactly how it is, which is why I have it laid out so that this is shaped like a U that way, and it's the same orientation this way, so you know that this wire goes back on the same exact way.
All right, definitely one thing I'm seeing, I didn't see in any of the other videos, trying to get these screws through here. These 2 new metal screws that go in each side here, to go into the key barrel, like that. Oh shit, I hope I got it the right way. I'll have to go back and literally look at my video to make sure I got this in the right way, but I think that was the orientation. Anyway, the problem that I'm having is that they don't go through the whole way. So what I'm seeing here is, and if I can try to zoom in, it goes into a certain point, and then this copper bit here looks like a little sleeve with some grooves on it. And as soon as you start to spin this, the whole thing spins and it's not going through. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll have to figure it out and I'll let you know. All right, I'm over at my workbench and I was able to get these screws out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to run here in the US we have imperial sizes. So this is a 9/32 drill bit, and I'm going to run them right through these little brass sleeves. I'm going to go real slow. All I want to do is just make the inside diameter a little bigger so that these little tiny screws right here go in properly. It took a little bit, but I ended up getting them through here. Like I said, just drilling that brass out helped get these through. Now that I know they'll spin freely as you go through, we should be good. I'm going to probably very gently hit this with a little WD-40 just to clean the threads off, to make sure there's no residual brass shavings on them, which looks like there might be. Okay, time to fish the new one back in. I'm going to go through the same side that I came out of. Like I said, it just seemed to be a little easier. And this wire, I don't know if you can see it in the shot, but it's got to go up and around the steering wheel adjuster. And yeah, it looks like a nice fit. All right, next thing we got to do is put the new bolts back in the top. These are supposed to break. And what I mean by that is you can see in there that it's a smaller diameter below the bolt head. And supposedly once you torque these down to the whatever the torque setting is, they snap off, and that creates your new security key, so that it then again when it breaks off, it looks like the old one, like that. All right, it feels a little odd to me that these two pieces just won't have a home anymore, but again, the videos I've seen, they just tuck them up in here and zip tie them, so that's what we're gonna do. But before I go crazy here and do all that work and tighten everything down, I wanna make sure the thing starts. So I'm gonna put this plug back in its home, up in the fuse box right there. I'm gonna rehook the battery up, and let's make sure this thing starts. All right, first thing I'm not hearing is the door chime, or the chime that I've left the key in the ignition. That's, I guess, a good thing. Let's see if we can fire this thing up. So you get two keys with the new thing, and as you can see, they're just plain keys. There's no fob, there's no button, nothing. So let's see if we get lucky here. All right, that's a good sign. That's a great sign. All right, it's running. Next thing we're gonna do is we want to experiment with the locking now. So I've got the ignition keys in my hand. Those are not in the ignition, obviously. And I've got the key fob here, which has been working. And this will actually unlock the door as well. So what I wanna do is just pretend like we've walked away and lock the car with the fob. Now, you'll notice that I have the windows down for a good reason, because if there's a problem and I need to manually unlock this by reaching inside, at least the windows are down. So let's see what happens when we lock the car. Okay, that's good. I heard all the actuators actuate, but what's interesting, oh, there we go. I was gonna say I don't see the red light flashing, so I think that's good. Now we're gonna hit the unlock button. We're gonna get in the vehicle. And now we're gonna use the new keys to start it. All right. I think we got a winner, guys. Oh, wait, that's one thing to check. Make sure that the steering wheel lock releases. I think it did. Yeah, great. I think we got a winner, guys. All right, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna tighten these 8mm bolts down. I'm going to take the unused wires. I'm gonna zip tie them up in here so they're not, rattling around or anything. This is good to go. Just tuck that back up in there, and then we'll fold this back up. All right, job done. The panel's all back to place. Everything is secured and tight. Vehicle starts. The only downside is you gotta carry two keys with you now. And I'll be honest with you, that's a small price to pay if in fact you've solved the problem here with the ignition, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the door lock as well. Cheers.